Hey everyone, my name is Jamie Dunn, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and the program director at Cancer Support Community, California Central Coast. And I am speaking to you as part of our Mindful Moments series of education that we're bringing you through the month of December. Is something we wanted to share from the perspective of a lot of our counselors who work day in and day out with patients and caregivers, and sharing some insight, tips, and tools to hopefully help us to keep connected as a community when we are wishing so much that we could be together. So in thinking about what I wanted to share with you, I felt overwhelmed. There's so much that I have gained over my 8 years in being with Cancer Support Community, mostly that I've learned and absorbed from being with patients and caregivers and a part of their journey. So much of this has just been transformative for me as a therapist and as a person. So I've really come to admire what I've learned, and hopefully by sharing some things that I have gained, that can be something that connects with you or resonates, and might be just a little bit of an encouragement to seek more from us, to join us for a support group or individual counseling to help these things to resonate more in your life and how you can really grab onto them. So some of the thoughts I wanted to share. Usually in December, our series, we talk about grief. We talk about the losses and the mixed feelings that can come up around the holidays, especially when you're going through cancer. Some of these things can be really compounded, and there's a lot of pressure sometimes to feel upbeat, to feel like you need to be positive or strong. The misnomers that cancer brings is we need to uphold those kind of mentality or exude those things when that's probably the last thing we feel like sometimes. So I want to encourage you to adopt the very small word and try and replace that with or. So not to give yourself the pressure to feel joy, happy, positivity all the time, or I'm being negative and a downer and all those things. That's where that either or, we kind of pressure ourselves and think we have to be one or the other. I encourage you to embrace and to give yourself permission to say and. So in the middle of that is I give myself permission to feel both joy and positivity at times, and to feel grief. This year particularly, I know I don't have to even say this, that has challenged many of us in such a huge way, collectively as a country and as a globe, and then individually, and especially if cancer is a part of your story this year. There's a lot of grieving, and grief means anything that we've lost, anything that we expected to be different. And that can look like anger, sadness, numbness. Sometimes we don't feel much of anything, and sometimes those feelings are all mixed together or in one moment shift from one to the other. So that's where I really want to encourage you to be kind to yourself, be gentle with yourself, and give room and permission for that and. I can feel these things together. I don't have to feel one or the other all the time, and put that pressure on myself. And also, speaking of that, is that there's the power of being vulnerable. If you are not a fan yet or have heard of Brene Brown, I highly encourage you to check out some of her videos and books. Brene Brown is a wonderful therapist and researcher on the topic of vulnerability. And there's a lot of vulnerability in grief and in being able to show others what we're struggling with and ask for their support. Asking for help is hugely vulnerable. And so we recognize that all the time. And I think that those that reach out to us sometimes, I really give them the most credit because they are in the most vulnerable, scared position they've ever been in their life. And so there's this tendency this year to focus on the struggle and the hardship. It feels like 2020 is this cursed year. You hear that a lot, even in, funny memes online. But really what that reinforces is this narrative, this story about how horrible this year is, and it's supposed to be. But the truth is that there's a lot of power in the story that we tell ourselves. So if we continue to look at it in a certain light, that becomes us, that becomes a part of our story. And there's a power to holding that, again, with that perspective of I give permission for multiple things. I give myself permission to also look at this year as what can I gain? What have I learned about myself? The vulnerability and the grief that I'm feeling may be here to teach me something, may give me a sense of resiliency I never knew I had. That's where I encourage you and challenge you with love and empowerment to try and embrace this year and all it's teaching you and teaching all of us, to see what we can take from it, see what we can use from this year, and how resilient we can be, and focusing on our self-care. I think that's where the power of this year is really going to show up, is how did we take good care of ourselves during this? So you don't need to transform your life as a whole. Maybe self-care for you right now is just doing the next best thing in the moment. So you don't need to transform your whole life and do everything right. What I challenge you to do is just in the next moment, what's the next best thing to take good care of myself? And that can be as simple as taking a deep breath, going for a walk, treating myself to a bath, giving a call to someone that I've been missing a lot, just choosing the next right thing. You don't have to take care of later today or tomorrow or even next week. Just choose what you can do right here and right now. So again, the message is you can feel multiple things at once, leaving room for that and instead of or. And then also just focusing on shifting our perspective and our narrative about this year, about ourselves, being kind, being gentle with ourselves, and lean into the work. Lean in is one of my favorites. Just lean in and see what you find out by accessing these emotions, by allowing yourself to be vulnerable with support. And if you want to learn more, if this piqued your interest, and you want to find out what this means, please reach out to us. Cancer Support Community is here for you. We offer wonderful groups and also individual counseling, among many other things. So if you're curious and you want to learn more, contact us, and we look forward to hearing from you. Take care.